Welcome to another Down the Rabbit Hole video. This is a kind of a Dungeons & Dragons related video. It also has a little bit to do kind of with pirates, and my last two videos touched on pirate stuff, so I thought I'll round it out with this third one here. I was stumbling through my old items and I found some of my old D&D things, and among those was this scroll. It's actually, technically it's a map. It's not old, although it is made to look like it's an old piece of parchment. And I'm going to unravel it because I haven't looked at this thing since the 90s. I'm curious to see if it is what I think it is, but anyway. It also reminded me of a scroll story that happened back in the 80s that was definitely one of my funniest experiences that's kind of D&D related. So I thought, you know what, for the channel, let's open this thing up, have a look at it, because I haven't seen it in years, and also I'll tell you my scroll story. But first of all, let's open it up now. This is bound with leather string-ish stuff. I believe what this is, got this is like a recreation of an old sea map that we were going to use in this campaign that had sort of pirates on the high seas sort of a thing. Can't even undo that. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, there we go. Now it's coming. And yeah, I think what we did was I took an old map that was, I mean, it's store-bought. It's made to look like an old sea scroll. And then I think I kind of just wrote on it with pen or ink of some type. Slight changes to it. Hey, wow, it's actually browned a bit there. That's interesting. So, let's open it up. I assume at some point it's going to tell me there be dragons. But let's see what we got here. Oh, here's it open. It opens that way. Nope, I got it wrong. Okay, let's open it up that way. This is a map of where? Indian Ocean and Solnar Ocean. Okay, so that's what? Asia divided into its principal regions, in which may be seen. Sorry, okay. Let me hold this closer so you can see what I'm reading. It's this bit up here. Okay, I'll pick up the camera. Okay, there we go. I think this is for real. Like, this is not a joke. Asia distinguished into its principal parts, viz. Turkey in Asia, Arabia, Persia, India, China, Tartaria, the islands of Japan, Philippines, of the Maluks of the... What? The Maluks of the Sunday? Of Ceylon? What? Sundays of Ceylon. And the Maldives, where are... let down the empires, monarchies, kingdoms, and states which are found there at present. Wow. Described by... Sorry, I'm not moving the camera. Just described by Sanson, corrected and authenticated by William Barry. Wow. So yeah, this is a pseudo-real map here. I mean, it is a real map. I think we may have drawn on it for our own purposes. Anyway, what do we got here? So what does this say? Asia, divided into its principal regions, in which may be seen the extent of the empires, monarchies, kingdoms, states, which at present divide Asia. Charles II. Wow. What year would that have been? I'm sure it's in there in fine print. The King of Great Britain and Ireland, map of Asia, William Barry. I don't see a year. Anyway. Okay, so there's Asia. And I think I can see the bits that we used for Dungeons & Dragons. So yeah, basically we had this pirate-y kind of an area, and we wrote on it. So we got Bandit Kingdoms. Can't see it there. Okay, yeah. Bandit Kingdoms, Duchy of Ten, Kingdom of Tangut, Chagnud, Chikagi, Ratik. Yeah, you can see. Okay, for example, there is, I guess it's It used to be Y-U-T-I? U-T? Anyway, we renamed it Rabbik. So what we did, basically, land of something barbarians. Yeah, wow. Okay. So basically, yes, the campaign in D&D took place not to scale. It wasn't like a giant landmass like Asia really is. I think we wanted to grab a stretch of water so that we could have some dots of land here and there, and we just renamed stuff to make it fit the D&D campaign. Wow. That's pretty cool, actually. But I'm actually, now that I'm a little more interested in the history, I'm more fascinated with this was how Asia was viewed in the time of Charles II. Just this giant mess of different countries and continents. And Solnar Ocean. Who the heck? Does anybody know anything about the Solnar Ocean? Or did I just write that? Yeah, island. Okay, so for example, for Japan there. Yes. So, islands of Japan. I scribbled out the word Japan, and I put the word Sea Barons. Okay, so that's what happened there. So I took this fancy map that I got in some, I don't know, museum store or whatever, scribbled out a bunch of stuff, made it work for the D&D campaign we were working on, and it's kind of fascinating to look at. Now, what I also find kind of cool about this is the material that this is made out of. I remember my dungeon master. Where's my string? There it is. I remember my dungeon master talking about something. I mean, I'm used to parchment and papyrus and all that kind of stuff, and I thought that that's what this was. This feels. I mean, this has been intentionally aged, but it's got a slight texture to it, which I think, and I don't know this stuff very well, but my DM would always talk about how the best scrolls to have in your possession were made of vellum. And I'm like, vellum, right, that must be some fantasy made-up word, like platinum. And he was like, no, platinum is a real thing. Oh, is it? And also vellum is a real thing. What? Yeah, okay. So vellum was, I think, some kind of treated leather that could be used for writing on. And what its advantage is, the advantage of vellum over, say, papyrus or paper or parchment, was that if you were in an adventure and you fell into a bit of water, you're not going to get your scroll ruined and have it all, the ink all wash out of it. So vellum, I think, might be what this stuff feels like. Because this feels like... It's sort of like the brown paper feeling you get, like a sandwich bag or something, but it's got a slight smoothness to it. So I wonder if this is vellum. I mean, I don't think so. I just bought this at a store, so it's probably some modern paper. It doesn't say anywhere what it's made of. It's probably some modern paper that, just for me, is feeling like the way I imagine vellum used to feel. Interesting other thing that I thought was always fictional, when we would store these things in our backpacks, the smart ones among us would buy a thing called a bone scroll case or scroll tube. And I had visions in my head of some kind of Fred Flintstone, giant dinosaur femur or dragon femur that had been burrowed out, and you just roll up your scroll and shove it into this big bone thing. And I, again, assumed that was just a fictional idea for D&D. Nope. Lo and behold, there have been bone scroll tubes. Like China has a whole bunch of them, and various. It's a real historical item that actually had some merit. And here was me again assuming that's just a thing made up for D&D. However, let me roll this thing up for one last time. And I want to tell you my scroll story, because it's kind of funny. So my DM and I were on the bus waiting to take off to go to the local shopping mall to go and buy ourselves some new figures. And he was telling me, again, about vellum and you want to get a bone scroll case and this kind of stuff. And he did mention, by the way, according to the rulebook, there's actually, every time you open up a scroll, especially ones that are made of paper, depending on the material, if it's not vellum, every time you open up a scroll, there's something like a 10% chance that it's going to just disintegrate and fall apart on you, because these in a proper medieval context, sure, it's fantasy, but with some kind of basis in reality, an old papyrus piece of material like this may not last the decades or so it's sitting in the dungeon. So every time you open up a scroll, there's like a 10% chance it's going to fray, fall apart, etc. And if the scroll is of a certain vintage, then yeah, it's got like a 20% to break apart every time you open it up. And I thought, oh wow, that's really interesting. And the funny thing was, never forget, we're sitting here having this conversation. The bus hasn't left yet, but a guy like a couple of seats ahead of us turned around and he said, "What on earth are you two talking about?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "A scroll will disintegrate after every 10%. What are you? Oh, sorry, man. No, we're talking Dungeons and Dragons." He's like, "Oh, I thought I could not for the life of me sort out what you two were on about." I was like, yeah, that was good. It's like, oh yeah, These conversations probably do sound completely bonkers if you don't get the context. So I wanted to share my scroll story because I'll never forget that one. And it was kind of interesting to view Asia and its principalities and kingdoms and states in the time of Charles II. Wow. That's going to go back in with all the other D&D stuff, and I guess until next time, we'll see you down the rabbit hole.